While Helmand's mayor and members of council are calling on a review of the city's warming center situation, those living on the street are still waiting for a more permanent solution to get them out of the cold. Ward 2 Councillor Cameron Kroetsch says there needs to be more warming centers in the city for homeless people.
I think that the policy that existed under the previous council is not adequate. We're not meeting the needs. You can drive around the city anywhere and see that people are suffering, people are cold, and people need spaces to keep warm.
The city's medical officer of health canceled the cold alert on Christmas Eve, meaning all city-funded warming centers were closed, despite it still being well below zero. A cold alert is issued when the temperature is expected to dip to -15 or -20 with the wind chill.
I'm not a health expert, I'm not a scientist, so I can't tell you what happens to the human body when it's exposed to the cold for long periods of time at different temperatures. But what some people are saying is, look, as soon as it hits -1, as soon as that negative temperature has been reached, people can experience frostbite and they can experience serious injury. So I think the city has to look at changing that level.
Dr. Tamar Packer is a health expert and says Kroetsch is right.
Yes, many of us are fortunate and can come into a warm home and gradually rewarm ourselves and be replenished with the right kinds of liquids. But if we're not able to access that, we can actually end up losing circulation in our toes and our fingers and ultimately develop gangrene and potentially amputation.
Mary Mills had a son who was homeless 10 years ago. She was upset there were so many people living in the cold with very few options.
It's terribly sad, and it's also scary to think that someone could freeze to death because in a rich country like this, they can't find any shelter or any warmth.
And Dr. Packer says it doesn't even have to be that cold for it to be dangerous.
It's the compound impact of wet, wind, and temp. So if we go down the wet path, because many of these folks don't have proper footwear, don't have proper outerwear, and your ability to withstand the temps and the wind is like dramatically reduced if you're wet.
And Mayor Andrew Horvath tweeted late this afternoon saying that the hub will now be open from 10 at night until 10 the next morning every day, regardless of the weather, until March 31st. And there will also be additional warming center hours at the Central Memorial Recreation Center this long weekend until 10 at night.